Hello everyone, it's Lisa with Ink and Inspirations. I'm glad to be here with you for this special Thursday video tutorial. And this week, since it's my birthday week, we've been crafting all about birthdays with cards, and you've seen a banner. And today I'm going to show you two super easy treat ideas that you can create for any age or any type of gathering. And so let's get started. Okay, so for the first one, I'm using the Totally Cute Designer Series paper if this was going to be like for a youngster's birthday party, okay? So your choice of papers depends on the actual event, okay? And so here I have a 2x9 piece of that Designer Series paper. I've scored it at 4 inches, which is the 4 inches that is going to turn up like this to make the pocket. So you want to be mindful of that when you make that 4-inch score. So I looked at my paper before I actually put it in the trimmer to score it, and I thought, okay, so if I turn this up, how is that going to look? And that one was going to be upside down. So this little guy was standing here, and I thought, okay, if I turn him up, he'll show and it'll be cute. And then I have the reverse side showing here that it's the inside of the pocket. So again, that's score at 4 on the side that you want to turn up. And then you're going to score at 1/2 inch from both sides on the long sides, okay? You have the short side up, score at 1/2 inch here, and then 1/2 inch here. And then I kind of bend, don't really burnish, but I kind of bend so that when I fold it up, it's going to adhere together on those two 1/2 inch marks. So what I like to do is put some adhesive just on the outside toward the edge of those scores. I'm using Stampin' Seal Plus, and then I'm just going to fold that up. And that's what makes the pocket. I'm going to turn down. I went a little far with my adhesive, so I'm going to just use my finger and turn that down. And there's a little pocket. And you're thinking, okay, what can you put in there? Well, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to show you in just a minute. But for starters, if you can put pencils, you can put pixie sticks, you can put anything that's long and thin. You could put fingernail files if it was an adult party. And so you can find something that's going to fit easily into there, okay? So I like to do this and open it up with my finger, okay? And then press down again on these sides, okay? All right, so we have our little pocket. Now to decorate it, you can do as much or as little as you'd like. For children, I don't really put a lot of embellishments and things on there because most of the time they're just going to tear it right open, right? So what I did is I cut one of the turtles with the little birthday cake, and I'm going to glue him or adhere him right here where this little guy shows, and he'll extend beyond the top. Okay, so I'm going to put that right here. And there we have that. Now, that's all I would do for a child's birthday favor, okay? And then here are some ideas that you can put in here, okay? These are little glow sticks, okay? Again, pixie sticks, pencils, a couple of little crayons if you're going to have them draw, and just fun to do. Okay, so now here is one like for an older teen or an adult party. Okay, if you're having maybe a stamping event, you could do these. This has a pin in here. And so I did the same thing with designer paper. I cut this out from this designer paper, and I'll have what paper it is in the description below. It's, I believe it's Bloom. I get my blooms mixed up on my designer series paper. I think that's Floral Impressions. Floral Impressions, okay? And I just tied a ribbon around it, and there is an idea for one treat, one type of treat, okay? All right, let's move on to the next one. Okay, I found something else that would fit nicely. Look, some little dum-dum suckers. So yeah, you can find some things that you can use, little treats, simple to do. It's long enough to put a pencil, and let's go on to the next project. So this next one, I'm starting with a 6x6 piece of this designer series paper. This is full of life. It's a carryover, very bright colors and fun. And we're gonna need to cut this one 6x4. So it's already 6. So I'm gonna get my paper trimmer and cut it to 4. Then we're gonna score it 1.5 and 4, and then flip it where we have what will be the bottom and score at 1/2 inch. Get my trimmer in here. Okay, so let's do 1 and 1. Oh, let's go ahead and cut it first. How about that? So 6x4 is what we need. And then we're going to score at 1 1/2 and 4. Now, this, it really wouldn't matter which side is the bottom, right? So that either side would work, okay. But this is something you want to make note of, like say if you had little rabbits or squirrels on your paper, okay? You wouldn't want those upside down. So you would look to see what you would want your treat bag bottom to be, and that's where you're going to score at the 1/2 inch mark. So I'm going to flip it here, pretending that it does matter, which on this paper it does not. Score at 1/2 inch. Okay, now we are going to burnish on these score lines. And give it a good crease. This is one of my favorite little treat wraps. Okay, now we're going to do some trimming. And so I'm going to take and cut up on these 2 score lines down here up to that 1/2 inch mark. Then I'm going to cut off this tab and this tab. So the 2 ends, okay. Now, just to make it a little fancy, I'm going to angle cut the ends of that tab. And then you're going to see how this will overlap on this side, and that's going to make a cute little pouch. So the bottom's going to come up, and you can see why I angle cut that to give it a neat finish. So let's go ahead and put some adhesive along this overlapping piece and bring it over. And then we're going to put some adhesive on this bottom one. I like to use either the tear and tape or the Stampin' Seal Plus to keep this all together while you're working on it, okay? So now, you know, as to what you're going to decorate here. So I'm going to do like this. I'm doing this for a little girl's birthday party, all right? So I'm going to, you can use dies or punches. I'm going to use circle punches. Here's a 2-inch circle and a 2 3/8 inch circle out of one of these colors, which is Petunia Pop. So that's just going to give that a backing and set it off from the front. So you see how it's going to come together. And then I can decide I can stamp on this. You know, again, I don't go to a lot of embellishing, especially for a child's party. But I think what I'm going to do is personalize it. And let's see, what could I put on here to make that super cute? I think I'm just going to get a very simple stamp. This is the With You in Mind stamp set. And I'm going to get this flower stamp, Little Daisy. Mount it. I'm going to use some Berry Burst because that's another color that's in the designer paper. I'll get my Stampin' Pierce mat because when we're stamping with photopolymer, there's not that padding like we have on our red rubber stamps, and it has it a little give underneath. or I should say it gives it a little give. That just didn't sound right to me to do that. Okay, so I'm getting a piece of scrap paper because I want to see how dark this is. Okay, that's first generation stamping. Ink it and then stamp. So now I'm going to do second generation, or stamping off. So I like this look, not this bold look. So I'm going to do it again, ink up, stamp, and then put it in the corner there. Now I think what I'm going to do is maybe put a little bit more stamping off and then do partial stamp. Stamp off and a partial stamp. Stamp off and partial. Okay, so I like how that looks. Since it's a circle, I can turn it any way, especially with a stamp like this that doesn't have a designated top or bottom, right? Okay, so I've got that. I'm going to leave that open and show you what I'm going to do here. So I have this little box of these die cut alphabet letters that I cut in one swipe through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and it cuts out all these letters. So what I do with this, instead of having all these different colors of cardstocks of letters, I cut it in white every time. And then I just take and look to find the letters that I need. If I don't have everything, I just run it through again, save the extra, and I'll use it another time. But you can see here I have spelled out one of my granddaughter's names, Mia. Okay, and I'm going to put that on the front. So the white wouldn't show up so great. Okay, so I'm going to close this. I'm going to get, you can use either blending brushes or a sponge dauber for this. And I'm setting that aside. Great little die there with all that alphabet. And I'm going to ink it up and see what that's going to look like. And then I'm going to do a little off and then sponge over the letter, giving it the color that I need for it to be. Works so well for me. I used to do some in black and some in white, and it never failed. I'd have the black and the white, you know, all in the same box. And I would have like the black M and the white I and the A, you know, or whatever word I needed. And so I thought, you know, I can sponge black on just as easily as I can any other color. And this is just works. Oh, I just love it. Love that die with all those letters. And it even cuts two of some of the most used letters. See the A, the H, two I's, two L's, two N's, two S's, R's, and T's, two V's, okay? It's a great little die set. Okay, so now, let me get this off here. And I am going to put this here and see how I'm going to position these. Now you see these sponged, how it just really pops. And that's why I chose to stamp off or do second generation stamping for the flower. Okay. All right. So I'm going to do that. And then let me get my glue and go ahead and position those on the little white circle, and then we can. So you can also cut these with our adhesive sheets behind it so that when you go to use them, you can just peel off the paper backing and you have like a sticker. But I choose not to do that on these letters because I don't want to use my adhesive sheets on items that I might not use, on letters that I might not use. So I just go ahead and glue them on, use the glue sparingly. Okay, that looks good. So let me go ahead and put some glue behind this and put it on our the back of our white stamped circle, and it never fails. I always manage to touch these letters before they're good and dry, and it kind of moves them around. So that's the blessing and the curse of the liquid glue. You want to have some wiggle room time, okay? All right, I love that. I love it. Okay, so now all we have to do is glue this on here, and it's going to be ready to go. Just like this. And let's see what we can put in here. So I've got some Sour Patch Kids. Now the bag is kind of big, but you can usually fold these babies in half and stick them in. Glue's not dry yet, but you see, it makes such the cutest little bag. You could put, if you had teenagers, you could put, well, that Post-it note's a little big, but you know what I mean, the little small Post-it notes. Let me see if I can find some in my bag of tricks over here. Yep. So look at this, even a good color. You put that in there, and even still tuck a pin in there, okay? It will also, we can put a, let's see. I know I have a gift card too. Hold on. Yeah. Here's one, an Amazon one. Look. Bam. Okay, if you were doing little prizes, you know. Okay, so that's good. Gift card holder. Let's see what else. I'm just going to try this and see if it works. For a crafter. Yep. Bottle of liquid glue. That works. For Christmas, look, I have these candy cane pins. Okay, that's kind of big. It would go better in this one, right? So can you imagine doing these in holiday colors and prints? Super cute, right? Okay, let me go ahead and put that back in, and then I'll put my pin in this one. And let's see. Let's get our little turtly cute guy here with suckers and glow sticks. Oh, I just popped that, so that's going to be glowing pretty quick. All right, so there's some ideas for you. You can add to them, change them up, you know, decide what paper you're going to use for your certain occasion, and just have a lot of fun with it. Keep it simple, okay? Keep it simple. You can see they're still adorable, okay? But super simple, okay? If you have any questions, let me know. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Lisa Brown with Ink and Inspirations, inspiring you to create, share, and make a difference. Take care. Bye-bye.